I believe we just went live, so let me go ahead and say hi in the chat. As you join, go ahead, let me know you're here, you can hear me, everything's okay. And that goes for any of the folks who are possibly watching this on a replay. I think I might have cut some of you off of the earlier live by pressing the wrong button out here in the sun. So anyway, nonetheless, very glad that you can join me. And what we're going to talk about today is absolutely vital. It's a vital part of your success in real estate. So what we're doing is over a 21-week period, we're going through the most important aspects to being successful in real estate. And what we started with over the first 4 or 5 weeks is the strategy that we deploy, which allows us to buy any house from any seller in any market without having to use any of our own money or any of our own credit. And having that strategy embedded in your brain and understanding it is one piece of the puzzle, obviously. Everything really is driven by an understanding of that strategy. But when you have that strategy, you are capable of profiting on any deal. That means that 100% of the house sellers are going to do one of the things that we service. We're like the Amazon.com of real estate. You could get anything from Amazon. Well, whatever they choose to do with their house is something that we can service, even if they're going to use a realtor and they want to get an owner-occupant buyer and get full price for their house in the next 30, 60, 90 days. We can service that and still profit from that. And when you have all of the different elements, all of the different alternatives available to you with the seller, it allows you to be agnostic towards the answers to their questions. You don't have to persuade, convince, cajole, push, assert in order to get a deal done. You simply ask the right questions, listen to their answers, and plug the seller into the right framework, into the right program to get deals done, okay? So that's what we focused on during the first 4 weeks. But that is wholly insufficient as far as being a good real estate investor. There's lots of people who understand how to do deals, but what separates the people who make money from the people who don't is your willingness to go out and execute, and your willingness to go out and execute competently. And executing competently means being able to get the information about how you understand how to do these deals out of your brain and into the seller's brain. So it has to do with your communication skills. It has to do with your ability to articulate the features, the benefits, the alternatives to the sellers in a way that compels them to, one, trust you, and then two, to take advantage of your expertise in the market and get your help with the disposal of their house, either because you're buying it directly from them or you are getting it under contract and controlling it while you go out and sell the property to one of your buyers and simultaneously close in the end, where you walk away with a spread between what we sold it for and what we bought it for. So I show you how to do all that in the first few weeks, but what we focused in on in the last several weeks is what is our approach? What is the script that we use to approach the seller with so that they understand where we're coming from? We talked about how we might have virtual assistants go ahead and take sellers through a slightly different approach until we get on the phone with the seller. And then we talked about your mojo last week. You know, how you carry yourself, what your posture is, so that the seller is comfortable with you as the purchaser of their property. And again, people are going to look for your genuineness, and they're going to look for your authenticity and your expertise. And you have to be able to convey that, not based on what's in your brain. A lot of people have these strategies in their brain, but they don't know how to communicate them clearly. Folks, this is true in every area of life. Is you've got to get your words together. And I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect. You strive towards perfection. The greatest orators in the world are not perfect with their words, but it's something to move towards. The better you are at communicating what's in your brain, getting it to roll off your tongue in a way that people can understand, you're going to have a lot less issues with folks, and you're going to get things done a lot more quickly. That includes even dealing with your children and relatives, and people at the holiday parties, right? We're in a world where there is tremendous difference of opinion on things. So being able to listen and being able to communicate becomes instrumental towards your success in life, every avenue of life, every aspect of life. So real estate investing is really about trying to make money, right? It's not necessarily about trying to build relationships with family. But when it comes to real estate investing and it comes to making money, you do want to be able to communicate with crystal clarity. So what I've done here, and what we're going to do over the next 3 weeks, is we're going to go through what I've put together as 30 questions or objections that come up from sellers based on what we've described as the way that we can buy their house, get them full price, do it in a way where they don't have to pay commissions and fees and discounts and make concessions along the way. They'll get more of the equity that they and their house has earned if they deal with us, but they just have to be a little bit patient in getting it. And what I mean by that is take monthly payments for a period of time until we pay them off in full. Usually that's because we're making installments against a price, or it's because we're renting the house for a period of time until we pay them off in full through the proceeds of a new loan that comes in from our buyer during the term of the lease. Okay, so those are some of the structures that we're going to be dealing with. But in presenting that to the seller with the approach that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, there are going to be questions that come up, there are going to be objections, there are going to be concerns. And I've been doing this for 30 years now, and I can tell you that coincidentally there's about 30 objections or questions that come up. Maybe only about 10 of them are real common, but there's about 30 different questions that can come up, and you need to have expertise in how to answer those questions. You need to understand the answer, but you also need to be able to communicate the answer optimally. It doesn't mean that you're going to be a silver-tongued devil that's going to snake charm somebody into doing things your way, but it does mean that you can answer the question honestly and optimally towards getting what you want, which is to be able to buy the house in one of the ways that makes sense for us. And if they won't do that, we still have backup strategies that allow us to still convert the seller to a deal that we're going to be working on. That's what I mean by being agnostic about their answer. When you're agnostic about their answer to your questions, you're capable of doing a deal with 100% of the sellers to the extent that they want to work with you, because they are ultimately going to do one of the things that we service, whether it's with you or without you. It might as well be with you because you're talking to them first before they have a deal set up with somebody else. I'm just going to tell you, I don't think I've added to this list of 30 in the last decade. It is tried and true that you aren't going to hear anything other than what I'm going to present to you over the next 3 weeks. I can't go through all 30 today, but I'll go through some of them today, some of them next week, and some of them in the following week. And for efficiency here, what I'll do is I'll go through these questions and these objections rather rapidly. You can come back and listen to the tape. The best way to really get good at this, folks, and I'm not going to give a shameless plug here, but the best way is really to get coaching, to get the hand holding on how to get the seller from point A to point B and actually get paid. You need coaching. We don't use road maps anymore to drive from point A to point B. We use GPS. Why? Because the GPS is in our ear telling us what to do next. Step A, step B, step C, step D. That is the absolute best way of learning a skill, is with coaching. And this coaching is not very expensive at all, guys. Anyone who has just the slightest bit of resourcefulness can get in this coaching program. So anyway, if you think that's something you want to do, you can schedule a Zoom call with me. My calendar is probably somewhere in the group, or you can visit me and I'll send you my calendar. We'll get on a call and find out what all this would entail for you, what it would look like financially for you, and whether or not this is the right fit. But in the absence of that, let me help you understand how you need to communicate with these sellers, roadmap style, right? Because there isn't the dialogue that we have in in a coaching format, other than me sort of talking didactically at you through these lives. Now I will come into the comments if you have questions, concerns, or re-objections, if you will, to the answers that I have. Go ahead, throw them in the comments, and I'll come in later. It might take me the rest of the weekend. I've got some other things I'm going to do, but I'll get in here and answer your questions and commentary. Oh, and by the way, most of the this is a pretty in-depth guide that I'm going to be using here that I use with my private clients. I can't send this to you because you need the context for it. That happens through the interchange that we have on a nightly basis, but I can send you a 40, whatever it is, it's over 40 pages. It's an ebook that'll walk you through how to answer these questions. I can send that to you, and that'll make a lot more sense as well. Also, I think that I've generally been loading these videos into YouTube, and I'm not sure if they do it on Facebook, but when I load them up into YouTube, I think it's transcribed with captions, so that might help as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, and we'll do this for the next 20 minutes or so that I can get you out of here at the half-hour mark today. So again, without all the color commentary, I'm going to go through these questions here. So if anything isn't clear, hit me in the comments. Here's a very, very common initial question that comes up from the seller. Is they'll say, I'm not sure what you mean by terms or taking a monthly payment. I never heard of this before. How does all this work? Okay, well, you have to be able to answer that, right? You have to be able to answer that. You have to be able to answer it in a way that demonstrates your authenticity and your competency. That's what people are looking for. They want people they can trust, and then they want people who have expertise. So what I tell folks when they need a little bit more clarification on what we're talking about is look, this is for people who want to get the most money out of their house. You get a full price. It's not reduced by all the traditional costs of selling a house, such as realtor fees, inspection punch lists, buyer's loan points, closing costs. I'll even pay your closing costs for you. So what happens is you get all the money and you get all the equity that your house has earned. You just have to be a little bit patient, but we pay you for that patience with monthly payments or rent payments until we pay you off in full. It makes a lot more sense that way, doesn't it? And then you continue the conversation. Now, if they wonder what those costs are, actually go ahead, drop in the comments if you don't have it already. I have a spreadsheet that shows, like on a $300,000 house, there's more than $50,000 of cost that can easily accrue to the seller, meaning that they'd only walk on a free and clear house with $250. So if somebody owes more than $250 on the house, they're way better off doing a deal with you than doing it the traditional way, because they ain't going to get any money at the end of the day after buyer's discounts and closing costs and inspection concessions and realtor fees and things of that nature. So I actually have that broken down in an Excel sheet that I can send to you if you ask me for it in the comments. Okay? Probably the most common objection we get is this next one. Okay, the seller says, well, wait a minute now. How can I get another house if I don't get my money out of this one? Now I'm pausing because you should be thinking to yourself, do I know how to answer that? And if you don't, you should probably get in the coaching program so we can help you get better at answering this. But this is an alternative for you here to play these tapes back a little bit and get comfortable to where you can memorize these answers so that you can answer them when you're game time mode with the sellers. Now there's a few options here in terms of the way we do this. Okay, the one I like best, and I think it's the most effective, is I'll say, well, how about using the money that you're not paying on this house to rent an even better house for a little while and eliminate the hassles and expense of owning yet another new home, particularly when new homes might be in a bubble. We might be in a pricing bubble, and you might be able to get a better deal later on, 2008 style, for example. Do you really want to be buying another house at the top of the market when you can rent a house that's probably just as good? So usually I'll take them down that road. And if they insist that they have to own a new house, I'll make mention to them that, look, if you absolutely have to have a new house, most folks nowadays, or at least many, are able to buy a house with a very small down payment, 3 to 5% down. So is that something that you'd be able to manage? And if they can't and they're expecting that 3 to 5% out of this house, we can probably take that deal because we're averaging 8 to 10% from our lease option buyers down, non-refundable, so we can fund that down payment for the seller out of the proceeds that we get from our buyer, which is another thing that I have to walk you through and show you how to do as as my coaching clients get every night when we get on the phone and start doing deals together. So there's another option here. It's not my favorite, but it is workable. Remember, so let's say someone has a free and clear house. They want to get all their cash out of it. So you could tell them, look, why don't you just go ahead and refinance this house? You could refinance this house, and then you'll have the cash out of it to go ahead and buy another one. And what we'll do is we'll just take over the payments that go with the loan, the refinance loan that you just put on this house. That enables you to have your cake and eat it too. I don't like to do that because it takes too long, right? They got to refinance, and then they've got to allow you to take over the payments. Not my favorite, but it is an answer to the question. Again, remember now, we're giving them options, and even if they say no, we're demonstrating a level of expertise we have about their options that makes them appreciate that you know what you're doing, so that if you end up not doing a deal as an investor, it really sets the stage for you to pick up a listing if you're a realtor, or move that seller into your wheelhouse with a realtor that's on your team where where there's opportunity for you there as well. So the last thing that I do in this case is I'll just say, hey, look, why don't we just do this? Let's figure out what you need in cash, and we'll go ahead and write up an agreement that gets you that. Remember, I'm not going to live in the house, so I'll go line up my buyer first before I buy it from you. Okay? Remember, you're not getting them a buyer. You're lining up your buyer so you can buy it from them, and we'll just write it up as a 90-day close. Not that I'm going to need 90 days, but I'd want to have that so that I have enough time to get the right buyer placed for me. So you tell me, which of those options do you prefer? Would you prefer to rent it? Would you prefer to go out and rent a house? Would you prefer to refinance? Would you prefer to just put a small down payment down on a new house? Or just tell me what you want and we'll go ahead and write it up like that, and I'll go out into the market and see what the market brings me. Okay? Oftentimes when you present things like that, it doesn't occur to them they don't have to take any of those options, and they'll pick one of them that helps you. If they won't take any of those options, then what they're looking at is competing for the owner-occupant retail buyers, all of which who are represented by realtors, in which case you're gonna go into a realtor listing pitch either for you or the realtor that you have on your team, like we talked about a couple weeks ago. Okay, another objection that comes up very commonly, I'm just looking at the clock there to make sure that I don't keep you all too long, is they'll say, well, I might be willing to do that, but how long is it going to take you to pay off the house? How long is all this going to take? What I like to do is just give them a very simple answer there. Well, look, it's as soon as possible. As soon as possible. We're totally aligned to do it as fast as possible because remember, we get paid from our buyer when the new loan comes in to pay you off. So I guess the question really becomes, how long do you want me to pay your mortgage down at my expense? You can make a case that the longer the better. Now, I want you to understand that some of this won't make sense to you if you haven't gone through the script, right? So you can go back into the events tab and look at the script. I acknowledge to the seller up front that I'm not going to live in the house. Okay, I'm buying this for my portfolio, but I'm not going to live in the house. I'm going to be putting a buyer in the house that I'm getting qualified for a loan, and that's actually how I make money based on that new loan that comes in that gets you paid off, but also that's where I make money on the house. So I acknowledge that up front, and there's a reason for that I went through when we talked about the script. Now, in response to that, somebody might say, well, hey, I may be able to give you 6 months to a year. Is that something that could work for you? Well, we want longer than 6 months to a year, don't we? So what we'll tell the seller is, hey, don't forget, our goal is the same as yours. It's speed. We want the loan that pays you off to come in as quickly as possible because that's how we make money. It's not from you, it's from our buyer. And the loan that we help them get that pays both of us off in full. Now, the best way to make that happen is for us to match up the existing term on your loan, or using the most common amortization schedule out there, which is a 30-year fixed. It makes everything 1,000 times easier for us and for the attorney who closes it. So if you have a 30-year on there, a 15-year, even a 5-year balloon, whatever it is, we just go ahead and match it up. That's the best, that's the easiest. Now look, we certainly don't plan on keeping this outstanding for 30 years, just as you didn't when you did your original bank loan. Those terms are really only in place for amortization purposes. The bank knew you weren't going to take 30 years to cash them out and refinance or sell, and you should know the same as it relates to us. That makes sense, doesn't it? And then you deal with what they say from there. This is why you have to understand the system, understand the objections, be able to carry on a dialogue with the seller. And that's why I like for people to use these scripts at first, and until you're able to just have a dialogue. I don't really use these scripts. I just have a conversation with the seller because I understand intuitively what we're trying to do. But at first you want to use these scripts until you have that ability to let your own personality and your own way of communicating come out, so that it becomes a more natural dialogue with the seller, which of course is much more persuasive than, if it feels like you're reading something. Okay. Here's another thing that comes up from time to time. The seller will say, well, wait a minute now. So the loan that I have on it stays in my name the whole time, even though I don't own the house anymore? Even though I've sold the house to you, the loan stays in my name? So y'all should be thinking, do I know how to answer that? Okay, well, I just tell people straight up. Look, you can think of that as very similar to renting your house. The loan stays in your name when you do that too, doesn't it? I mean, it's not going to keep you awake at night, is it? For some people, it will keep them awake at night, because they'll go on to say, well, hey, won't the bank call the loan due? Won't they call the loan due if I keep the loan in my name after selling it to you? This has to do with the due on sale clause that's on just about all loans, right? Remember, the due on sale clause is an option that the bank has. When the deed transfers, it doesn't mean the loan is due. It means the bank has the option to call the loan due. Banks want payments. They don't want houses. Very rare for them to call a loan due unless it's like a home equity line of credit or a reverse mortgage. But if it's a traditional first mortgage and it's performing and it's being paid, extremely unlikely that the bank is going to call that loan due. So that's essentially how we answer the question when they say, won't the bank call the loan due if I keep the loan in my name after selling it to you? And what I let them know is, hey, just about every bank loan for the past few decades, it provides the lender an option to do that when the house is sold. It's really for their protection, but that doesn't mean that they act on that option. Banks want loans that are being paid to keep getting paid. Just look at all the expensive ads everywhere trying to get people to take out new loans. They don't want to call loans that are being paid due. They're in the business of collecting payments, not houses. Wouldn't you agree? I don't know if y'all can hear my dog barking there. Shaolin, stop. All right. Okay. Now, sometimes the sellers get a little bit... Sit down, girl. Sometimes the sellers get a little antsy about what's in it for you, right? When you're paying full price for these houses. I can't really tell what time it is, but so they'll say something like, so hey, how do you make money doing this? I mean, you're going to give me full price on this house. How is it that you get paid? And you don't have to teach them a seminar here, guys. Just go ahead and answer the question. Well, we get paid entirely from our buyer and not from you. Remember, I'm not going to live in the house. Okay, I'm selling it to somebody that I'm getting qualified for a loan. That's what allows me to pay you full price and get a premium from them. See, this is unlike what happens with realtors, where you end up paying a hefty fee out of the sale of your house. If you want to do that, I can help you with that. But I'm trying to buy your house where you can get as much money as possible on this. You'll get more money doing it my way. But if you can't live with the terms that go along with that, the patience that comes along with that, then you might want to use a realtor, and we'll help you with that. So the answer is we get paid from our buyer, not from you. It's unlike what happens with realtors, where you pay a hefty fee out of the sale of your house. We make money from the new loan that comes in, the one that gets you paid off in full. Fair enough? And that's how you answer that one. Now, some sellers will start to calculate, well, what happens next? What could go wrong? Which is a smart thing for people to do, right? You should assess the risks and the rewards. So some sellers will say, well, what happens if you can't sell the house then after you buy it from me? And what I always tell people, and this is especially in a market like this, where every time I put a house up for sale, I mean, the last one I put up a couple weeks ago, I had it sold in about 3 days. I had 4 people with, over $20,000 down on the house. It was a $300,000 house, and I had to let 3 people down. Okay, so it's very, very easy to sell these houses in today's market, particularly when you're selling out on a lease with an option to buy. There's lots of people who have big down payments, but they just don't meet the lender's criteria just yet. We can get them there, but they don't meet it yet, but they want to live in that school district, they want to live in that house, and you're the only game in town. So if you think it's a hot market for buyers who are qualified, you ought to see how white hot, how fire hot the market is for folks who don't qualify right now, but they have plenty of money to be able to put down. They just don't meet the lender standards for one reason or another. Could be a new job, could be a new business, could be they went through a divorce. It could be any number of reasons why someone doesn't qualify right now. Two, 3 things we got to fix on their credit. But anyway, the seller will say, so what happens if you can't sell the house after you buy it from me? And what I tell them is, hey, we always do. Our marketplace of buyers looking for houses like yours, it's enormous. It's 20 times larger than the marketplace of buyers whose loans are immediately ready to fund. Remember now, I'm your buyer. Okay, you don't have to worry about anyone else. I'm accountable to you and to the terms of our agreement with you, regardless of what we do with it next. And quite frankly, usually we have several people to choose from, and we choose the best one and then work hard to get their loan ready so that both of us can get cashed out. Does that make sense? Okay, let me do one more with you guys here. I think did we hit the? Yeah, I think we have time to do one more here, and then we'll continue this. Remember, I've got 30 of these. Okay. Now, we are in an environment where people are learning these strategies. Unfortunately, most people are learning from YouTube University. Perhaps a lot of you are learning from me on YouTube University or Facebook University here instead of from actually me every night where we're on the phone and you're getting coaching. I'll tell you that even with me teaching you in this way, shape, or form is not ideal. There are nuances to this business that you're going to want the hand-holding for. You're going to want that GPS level navigation. But because there are people going out and trying to implement these techniques just based on learning from videos or from this 21-week program or from YouTube or from other mentors and coaches, sellers will have heard about these types of strategies from time to time. And they'll say something to you like, I've had several people call me with an offer like that. How are you different? Guys, don't get into a pissing match against other investors. It has nothing to do with whether or not that seller is going to sell to you or not, okay? Don't get taken down that pathway. So what I tell people immediately is, well, hey, I need to know exactly what you were offered to explain how I'm different. I'm simply asking you questions to determine what you need, and then I'm going to plug your needs into one of many solutions. No matter what you do with this house, it's something that I can service. So I suppose I'm probably different from investors in that sense. But at the end of the day, most people tell us after they get paid off, which is what I know you want, that they appreciated how right from the very start we told them exactly what to expect and then delivered on those expectations. I can't speak for others, but that's what's going to happen if you deal with me. All right, guys, so that is a good start to this 3-part series on handling objections. The deals are made in the dialogue. The deals are made in the dialogue with the seller, and that's what we're going to be covering over the next couple of weeks here. So anyway, if you think I can help you, jump on a Zoom call with me, find my calendar, message me, let's get on a call, let's see what this business could look like for you, and we'll get you going. Otherwise, y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I will catch up with you on the flip side. All right, let me see if I can close this video down. See y'all later.